When I was a teenager, if you were to ask me what my biggest dream was, I would have said to get married. Because of that dream and that goal, I made it my life's mission to prepare for that destination. Now, the truth is, I made a lot of mistakes in preparing for marriage. And in this video, I'm going to highlight some of the things I did wrong, but also some of the things that I would encourage you towards as you seek to prepare for marriage. Now, even if you're in a relationship already or dating someone or engaged, or maybe even married, I still believe this video is going to be valuable to you. Now, I have to be honest and say that some of these things that I'm going to suggest you do with some practical steps are going to sound extreme. And the reality is a lot of people won't do them. They'll say, this is too much. This is not important. This is, this is unreasonable. Some people are going to watch this video and actually put them into place. And for those people, I think this is going to be really helpful. Before we dive in, 3 quick things. If you haven't already, subscribe because I'm putting out new content all the time. If you want to listen to these videos, go to Spotify or Apple Music and subscribe on there. Rate us 5 stars if you enjoy the podcast and you can listen to it there. And also subscribe and join us on Patreon. Become a patron. This is the goal of the ministry, is to help men and equip men to lead and love like Jesus. If that's a mission you want to get behind, you want to support me in doing this as I provide for my family and continue on in this ministry, join on Patreon. That's the best way you can do it. Thanks so much. Now on to the video. First way to prepare for marriage is say goodbye to the seductress. In Proverbs 5, it talks about this woman. For the lips of the forbidden woman drip like honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter wormwood, sharp as two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path to Sheol. Who is this woman? This woman will lead you astray. I see it all the time, okay? Young men that idolize and fantasize and lust after women they've never met online. Okay, this is your time as you're preparing for the woman that's really going to come into your life that you're going to give your all to, right? Cast away the seductress, this woman that is just leading you astray. Yes, her lips are like honey and her words are smoother than oil, and she wants to seduce you to bring you in. And for those of you who are addicted to something like online lust, and you know what I'm talking about, if you're addicted to these things, I don't want this, right? This is not God's best for me. This is not God's plan for me. In fact, Jesus said, if you look at a woman to lust after her, you've already committed adultery with her in your heart. These are not habits you want to keep up, but you're asking yourself, how do I break free? How do I really say goodbye to the seductress for good? The first practical thing is learn your roots. Learn what is the root of your lust issue or your habitual pornography usage. I want you to watch a video. I'm going to link it down below. It's about breaking free from the cycle of sexual sin. It really gets at the roots. You need to understand what are your coping mechanisms. Maybe it's your anxiety, or you're feeling this discomfort, and so you go towards these things. How can we address those negative feelings, those issues in our heart without using this harmful substance really that we're trying to cope with? Okay, watch that video. That's going to go more in depth. You need to learn your roots. Second thing is get accountability. Okay, I want you right now to text somebody in your life what you're going through. Somebody that you're close with. Say, hey, I know this is a little bit embarrassing. Maybe give them a phone call. Say, hey, I'm struggling with this addiction or this usage. I don't want it. I'm just letting you know I want accountability. I want somebody to be able to talk to about it, okay? Beyond that, there's a service that I want to offer you. It's 30 days free. It's called Covenant Eyes. I have a link in my description. You can sign up. It's an affiliate link, so it also benefits and helps support the ministry if you sign up. But it's been proven to help men and women break free from this stuff, okay? You don't need to do this alone, and what it does is it sends a monthly report of your internet usage to somebody in your life that you give access to it, and that way, as you're being tempted online, okay, this report is going to go to this person, and I'm going to need to explain this. It gives that extra layer of accountability. Don't do this on your own, guys. Third thing here is block the inputs. What are the avenues where the seductress is seducing you? Is it social media? Is it just online in general? Is it having your computer in your bedroom? What are the things, the practical things that you can do to shut off those inputs? The fourth thing, and I truly believe this is most important, is when you are tempted, know the scripture that says God will give you a way out. Okay, God will give you a way out. We should be in prayer without ceasing. God, help deliver me from this temptation, as it says in the Lord's Prayer. That's where we need to go. You can do all the other things that I mentioned here, but if you're not grounded in God's word, those memorization of certain verses in your mind that you can help speak truth to that temptation, just as Jesus spoke truth to the temptation of Satan when he was tempting him, he spoke verses, Bible verses back at him. You need to be able to do that too. But also be in prayer without ceasing, knowing that it's God who will help deliver you. So the second way to prepare for marriage is learn boundaries with women. Learn boundaries with women. This is a lesson that many men learn too late. They get married and they've never established boundaries with other women. And so they feel like there's no problem with carrying on a text conversation with a woman they're not married to, or sending reels or TikToks or YouTube shorts to a woman because they're funny and whatever, we have a friendship going on. You need to know how to set proper boundaries with women in your singleness. That way, when you are married or in a relationship, things will be that much more orderly and you will protect the woman that you are with. What does this look like? I've made numerous videos about having female friendships and should you have female friendships and all this kind of thing, but here are just some of the quick bullet points, I think, boundaries that we should set up. First thing is stop going out one-on-one with a woman if you are not going on a date with her. Okay, as a single man, it's like, hey, if you're not going to ask her out on a date and you're just going out as friends, I think that's just a very confusing environment for both of you, okay? Because it feels like a date, it looks like a date to other people, but if you're not putting that label on it, and maybe you have no expectation that it is a date, you're giving her the signal that it is a date, and maybe she's lifting up some of those expectations. This is not a good way to operate with women. Just decide, hey, unless I'm asking you on a date, we're going to do things in group scenarios, and that's just a good boundary to set up. Second thing, and I kind of mentioned this, is don't carry on long conversations with women that without asking them out on a date. As a single man, it's like, you can get in this space where you're just texting them, and maybe it's long distance, but maybe it's not, and you're just texting and texting and texting, but you're not actually making a move. And so you can feel like, oh, there's so much vulnerability here and we know each other so well and da-da-da-da-da. But it's actually dangerous because what you should be is in person and you should verbalize your expectations and intentions with her. This is part of protecting her heart. I have numerous videos on protecting her heart and how to do that. But this is the thing. Verbalize your expectation. Don't carry on these long conversations because the truth is ask her out or move on. Don't give her this limbo space where she's just waiting for you to ask her out, or maybe you have no intention to, and you're just looking at her as, somebody to help. You can verbalize your emotions to, but then you have no responsibility to at the end of the day. The truth is that if you are flippant with boundaries when you're single, you're going to be flippant with boundaries when you're married, and that's going to cause a lot of harm to not only you, but to your future wife. I feel like it also goes without saying for the most part, but physical boundaries are so important, guys, especially as a single guy. Look, you can lead women on by the way that you touch and you interact with them physically, right? If you put a hand on the shoulder, if you're giving lots of hugs, like I know there's a friendliness to it, but I also want you to be aware of how you are interacting with them. And also, somebody that you're interested in, there's a lot of physical attraction there, right? And you want to go further, right? As the man, you need to set the boundaries. Be self-controlled. That's what it actually says in Titus 2. It talks about young men be self-controlled. It's one of the only encouragements in that passage that young men are given. Why is that? Because it is such an important characteristic of young men. If we can be self-controlled, then we will avoid so much harm and harming other people. The fourth way to prepare for marriage is be able to identify your flaws. Here's a little bit of homework for you. I want you to write down as many flaws of yourself as you can. Now, this is maybe a little bit of a depressing task, but do it. And if you can't really list that many, like let's say you can't list over 5, you got a problem. Because it's not that you don't have those flaws, it's that you haven't yet identified them. So if that's the case, go to one of your friends and say, hey, I'm doing this thing. I want to know where I can improve. What are some areas that you've seen weakness? And I won't hold it against you. I want you to just be honest with me. As they're telling you these things, are you getting defensive? That's something to put on the list, right? I get defensive every time somebody points out a weakness of mine. That is a flaw. Identify these things. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to sort through these things all on your own and you're going to carry a lot of them to marriage. That's true. Okay. I was there. In a lot of ways, I have insecurities that impact my ability to listen and to be humble. And so I want to just, cover things up and not talk about things because I don't want to be questioned. And I recognize that and I'm trying to grow from that. But you need to be able to identify it first so that at least going into a relationship, you can say, hey, you know what? This is a struggle of mine, but I'm trying to improve. Can you help me with this? That's huge. That's so much different than having all these kind of flaws, but being like, no, I'm pretty good. The next way to prepare for marriage is become self-motivated. And this is crazy, right? Become self-motivated. How does that even happen? How do you do that? Well, here's the thing. Is that when you were a little kid, you were a little boy, maybe some girls are watching this, you're a little girl, your mom tells you, can you clean your room? Please clean your room. It's not usually a question. It's usually like, hey, clean your room. And maybe some of you were more diligent about that. Okay, I'm going to clean my room. Or some of you, laid it off for a little while and procrastinated. But eventually, okay, you did it. Are you going to go into marriage with this same mentality that you need your wife, your future partner, to tell you, hey, clean your room? Hey, take out the trash. Hey, do these things. Or at this point in your life, are you going to be the person that does those things without being told? Are you going to take initiative? And this is a decision you make, right? Maybe you're not wired this way. Very few people are. But the truth is that you can grow in this area if you decide it's important to you. If you don't want to be the man, if you decide, I don't want to be the man that just the wife has to nag all the time to just do basic things. No. And so as a single man, I'm going to live a life of self-motivation where I go above and beyond. Why? Not just in preparation for marriage, but because I know God calls me to excellence, to steward what I have, to do all things for his glory. Ultimately, our heart and our motivation can't be totally focused on just preparing for marriage or about our future spouse or about our future wife. You have to be grounded in your relationship with God. Okay, what are you doing for God? Am I growing? Am I wanting to be sanctified? Am I working in order to grow closer with God and because I love God? Or am I doing it just to get a good relationship? Okay, you need to be honest with yourself because if you're just working, okay, I want to just do everything right so then I get a good relationship at the end of the day, I think that's misguided. I want to do these things because my dream, my hope, my goal is to be married. Absolutely. But also I want to honor God. And right now I don't have, maybe you're single and you're like, you don't have a woman in your life. Who are you doing this for? You're doing this for God, to honor him, not to earn his praise or earn his love, but because of the love that he's already shown you. And you want to reciprocate that and show God, I love you. I want to honor you. I hope you guys got a lot of value from this video. And until next time, keep pursuing the mission.